I'd like to just tell you two stories about how I got into this body of work. I've been painting for about 50 years, and I moved to New York in the 50s, and after college and a marriage, and it was all men all the time painting abstractly, and it was a boys' club. They were tough. They went to the Cedar Street bar. They drank a lot. They had big lofts, and they threw paint on walls. Got in fist fights and killed themselves a lot. Jackson Pollock among them. But I was told that it was immoral to paint figuratively. So I tried and figures would creep in, and I would paint them out. And there was a show at the Museum of Modern Art in 1959 called The New Images of Man, and it was a revelation. It was combining abstract painting techniques with figures, actual figures. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Richard Diebenkorn's figurative work, or David Parks, or Golub, or all these people I'd never heard of, and the reviews were terrible. But to me, it opened a new door that I could start painting the way I felt. So I painted and painted and taught, and when Leo and I got together, my husband, he's a writer, all his friends were writers, and they saw work as a book, and a lot of them were writing memoirs, and I thought, how can I write a memoir? So the only way I could do it was through paint. Before that, I'd been doing some series, and what excited me about painting was grabbing a second of time and making it eternal. I did a series of bas-reliefs based on newspaper photographs of people in camps or some kind of tragedies, somebody drowning, or anyway. And I thought they were as good as Greek stories, so I made them, kind of tried to make them eternal. The movie series, I did a swimming pool series. I thought that any of these things. So to get to this story, I had a box of old photographs that I'd carried around for many years, and I'll bet half of you here have those, just odds and ends scraps. When photographs were precious instead of ubiquitous. And I'd been going through them, and I decided I'd use them as a basis for a series of stories about my life. The earliest one I had is my father, his sister and brother in about 1905 in Kentucky, and that's the first painting in the series. It goes from my mother in California, how they meet, how they courted, myself as a small child, my sister, just everyday scenes that were little black and white scraps, and goes through many painful moments. My father's alcoholism, my 2 marriages before Leo, my children, but happy moments too. And the grand finale is the biggest painting in the show. It's when we meet in 1971, and Leo had an afro. I fell in love with him. And that's the end of the story. I just can't tell you how moving it was to actually study these snapshots. Something very heartbreaking about just the light and the shadows, and my parents as young and strong, and even the corners of the room would make me stop and think about how that moment happened and it'll never happen again. And I just want to say this, as Emily says in our town, earth. You're too wonderful for anybody to realize you. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. And that's what I tried to do after the fact. Really look. Thank you.